The photo hit my phone at 2:47 a.m. during a 3-alarm warehouse fire, and let me tell you, nothing ruins the adrenaline rush of saving lives quite like watching your wife tongue-wrestling another man at a wedding you weren't invited to. My name is Alex Thompson, and I've been putting out fires for 12 years. House fires, car fires, the occasional dumpster fire behind Murphy's Bar when the college kids get too creative with their weekend plans. What I'd never dealt with before was the slow burn of betrayal, the kind that starts small and spreads until it consumes everything you thought you knew about your life. The warehouse was fully engulfed when Captain Morrison handed me my phone. "Your wife called," he shouted over the roar of flames and diesel engines. "Said it was important." Important. Right. The notification wasn't from Natalie, though. It was from Facebook, tagged by her mother with about 50 heart emojis, and the caption, "Most beautiful couple at Sarah's wedding." The photo showed my wife of 7 years locked in what could generously be called an intimate embrace with Mark Davidson, the golden boy real estate agent who'd been sniffing around our neighborhood like a dog in heat. I stared at the screen while water cascaded off my helmet. Around me, my crew worked to contain the blaze, their voices muffled by the roar in my ears. Natalie wore the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one she claimed was too fancy for a family thing. Mark's hands were positioned in a way that suggested they'd moved well beyond casual acquaintance. "Thompson," Morrison's voice cut through my shock. "You with us or what?" I pocketed the phone and grabbed my axe. Sometimes the best way to deal with one fire is to focus on another. 3 hours later, we'd saved the building, and I'd made my decision. I drove home through empty streets, rehearsing conversations I'd never have. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway, Natalie's car absent from its usual spot. Still at the wedding, probably. Still celebrating. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, watching our bedroom window. We'd bought this place 5 years ago, back when Natalie still laughed at my jokes and didn't flinch when I touched her shoulder. The mortgage had another 15 years, but something told me I wouldn't be making those payments much longer. Inside, everything looked exactly as it had when I'd left for my shift. Natalie's coffee mug in the sink, her romance novel splayed open on the kitchen counter, the throw pillows arranged just so on our couch. A life frozen in time, waiting for its owner to return and shatter it completely. I opened my laptop and studied the photo again. The timestamp showed 11:23 p.m. The location tag read, Riverside Country Club. I knew the place. Mark had hosted his company Christmas party there last year. Natalie had insisted we attend, spent an hour getting ready and another hour complaining about the other wives' dresses. The comments under the photo told their own story. Natalie's sister had written, "Finally," with a winking emoji. Her best friend Jennifer had posted, "About time you two made it official." Official. The word sat in my stomach like a stone. I scrolled through Natalie's recent posts, looking for clues I'd missed. There weren't many, she'd been careful. But 3 weeks ago, she'd shared a quote about following your heart wherever it leads. 2 weeks before that, a photo of her lunch at Rossini's, the expensive Italian place downtown. She'd told me she'd eaten with her mother. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. "Wedding running late, staying at Mom's tonight, love you." Love you. I almost laughed. The woman had spent the evening playing tonsil hockey with another man, and she ended her cover-up text with, "Love you." Either she thought I was incredibly stupid, or she'd become incredibly brazen. Possibly both. I forwarded the Facebook photo to my phone and screenshot the comments before her family could wise up and delete them. Then I opened a beer and sat in my recliner, staring at the evidence of my wife's betrayal. 7 years of marriage, 12 years of friendship before that. We'd met in high school, dated through college, married in a ceremony at the same church where her cousin Sarah had apparently just tied the knot. Natalie had been beautiful in her wedding dress, radiant and laughing as we danced to At Last by Etta James. Now she was beautiful in someone else's arms, and I was sitting alone in our living room, drinking beer and planning my next move. The fire department had taught me patience. Structure fires don't surrender quickly. You have to understand their patterns, find their weak points, cut off their oxygen supply. Some blazes fight back harder when cornered. Others collapse all at once when their support beams fail. I had a feeling Natalie's deception was the kind that would go down hard. Natalie came home Sunday afternoon with guilt written all over her face and a story prepared like a homework assignment she'd finished 5 minutes before class. I was in the garage, organizing my tools, when I heard her car in the driveway. "Hey, baby!" Her voice carried that artificial brightness people use when they're trying too hard. "How was your shift?" I emerged from behind my workbench, wiping my hands on an old towel. "Same old. Warehouse fire on 3rd Street. Took most of the night to contain it." She kissed my cheek, a quick peck that felt more like a transaction than affection. "I'm sorry I missed your call. The reception at the country club was terrible." "No problem. I saw the photos your mom posted. Looked like a beautiful wedding." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Photos? What photos?" "The ones from Facebook, you and the whole family celebrating. Your mom tagged you in about 20 of them." I kept my voice level, conversational. "That blue dress looked amazing on you." She relaxed slightly, probably thinking I'd only seen the group shots. "Oh, those. Yeah, Sarah looked beautiful. The whole thing was really nice." "I'm sure it was. Mark Davidson, clean up okay for a family wedding?" This time she went completely still. "Mark? What do you mean?" "Your mom's caption called you two the most beautiful couple there. I didn't realize he was part of the family now." Natalie's mouth opened and closed, like a fish gasping for air. That was just... We were dancing. Everyone was dancing." "Dancing. Right." I nodded thoughtfully. Must have been some dance. The way his hands were positioned, I mean. "Alex, you're being ridiculous. It was just a picture. You know how photographers catch people at weird moments." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot. "This kind of weird moment?" She stared at the image for a long time, her face cycling through surprise, panic, and finally resignation. "It's not what it looks like." "What does it look like, Natalie?" Like we were..." She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Like you were kissing another man at a wedding I wasn't invited to? Like you've been lying to me about where you've been and who you've been with? Like our marriage has become such a joke that your own family is celebrating your affair on social media? It's not an affair." The words exploded out of her. "It was just... We've been talking. He's been helping me figure some things out." "What kind of things?" "Things about us, about whether we're really happy." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "And what conclusion did you reach?" "I don't know yet. That's why I haven't said anything. I'm confused, Alex. I love you, but Mark Davidson's tongue helped clarify things? Don't be crude." "Crude? Natalie, you cheated on me. At a family wedding, in front of everyone we know. And you're worried about me being crude?" She started crying then, the kind of tears that might have moved me 6 months ago. Now they just looked like another performance. "I never meant for it to happen. We were talking at the bar, and he said all these things about how he'd always thought I was special, and the music was playing, and you decided to see what his tonsils tasted like." "Stop it." "No, I don't think I will stop it. See, I've been putting out fires for 12 years, and I've learned something important about them. They don't start by accident. Someone always lights the match." I walked past her toward the house. "I'm going to shower. When I come down, I want you to decide what you're going to tell me. The truth about how long this has been going on, or some story you think I'm stupid enough to believe. But understand this. I saw the photo, I read the comments, and I know what I'm looking at." "Where are you going to sleep tonight?" she called after me. "In my bed, in my house. The question is, where you're going to sleep." "Upstairs, I stood under the hot water and let myself feel the full weight of what was happening. 7 years of marriage, evaporating like steam. All those nights she'd worked late at the dental office. All those girls' nights out that ran until 2 a.m. All those times she'd been too tired for intimacy, too busy for conversation, too distracted to care about anything I had to say. The signs had been there. I'd just been too trusting, or too proud, to see them. When I came downstairs, Natalie was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. "I deleted the photos," she said without looking up. "Too late. I already saved them." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." That night, she slept in the guest room. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling and listening to her move around downstairs. Around 3 a.m., I heard her on the phone, whispering urgently, probably calling Mark. Probably planning their next move. I closed my eyes and started planning mine. Monday morning, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years. Instead of heading to the firehouse, I drove to downtown and had coffee with Megan Walsh, my lawyer, and one of the few people I trusted completely. "Jesus, Alex." She studied the photos I'd printed out, shaking her head. "She's not even trying to be subtle." That's what I thought. Look at the comments. Megan scrolled through the screenshots on her tablet. Her sister knew. Her best friend knew. Hell, it sounds like everyone knew except you. How does that work legally? In your favor if you want a divorce. Pennsylvania's a no-fault state, but adultery still matters for asset division and alimony. These photos are gold. What about the house? Both names on the deed? Yeah, but I made the down payment. My savings, my credit score. We can work with that. What about joint accounts? I handed her a folder. I've been documenting everything for the past month. Something felt off, so I started keeping records. Bank statements, credit card bills, phone records. Megan flipped through the papers, her eyebrows rising. She's been busy. Rossini's, the Marriott downtown, Victoria's Secret. When did you say this started? I don't know when it started. I know when I found out about it. Alex, these charges go back 4 months. Look at this. Hotel room on March 15th. Wasn't that your birthday? I felt something twist in my stomach. She said she had to work late. Emergency root canal. Emergency root canal at the Marriott? Apparently. Megan closed the folder. I can file papers this week if you want. Clean break, protect your assets, make sure she doesn't get to play the victim. Not yet. I want to try something first. What kind of something? The kind where she gets to experience some consequences before the lawyers get involved. Megan leaned back in her chair. Alex, I've known you for 10 years. You're one of the most level-headed people I've ever met. Don't do anything stupid. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm just going to make sure the truth comes out. The truth has a way of being messy. So does adultery. That afternoon, I drove to Mark Davidson's real estate office. Premier Properties occupied a corner building downtown, all glass and chrome and motivational posters about making dreams come true. Mark's headshot dominated the front window, his bleached smile promising integrity and results. I didn't go inside. Instead, I sat in my truck across the street and watched. At 4:30, Mark emerged from the building, checking his phone as he walked to his BMW. He looked exactly like his photos, tall, tan, and artificially perfect. The kind of man who spent more on hair products than I spent on groceries. He drove to Starbucks, ordered something complicated, and sat at a corner table with his laptop. I watched him work for an hour, occasionally smiling at his phone screen, probably texting my wife. At 6 p.m. he packed up and drove to the gym. Lifetime Fitness, the expensive one with the juice bar and the personal trainers who looked like underwear models. I waited in the parking lot until he came out an hour later, showered and changed into clothes that cost more than my monthly truck payment. Then he drove to Natalie's dental office. I parked behind the building and watched through the back window. The office was supposed to be closed, but the lights were on in the break room. Through the blinds, I could see 2 figures moving around inside. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. Working late again. Don't wait up. I took photos of Mark's car in the parking lot, the timestamp clearly visible. Then I drove home and waited. She came home at 11 p.m., claiming she'd had to finish paperwork for a difficult patient. She kissed my forehead and went straight to the shower, humming softly to herself, the same tune they'd been dancing to in the wedding photo. I sat in my recliner, studying the pictures I'd taken, and started planning phase 2. Tuesday morning, I created a fake Facebook account using a photo of a generic-looking middle-aged woman. It took me an hour to make it look legitimate. Friends, posts, photos stolen from various sources. Then I sent friend requests to Natalie, Mark, and about 30 people in their social circle. Most of them accepted within hours. People are trusting that way, especially when the profile looks like someone's aunt or coworker. Once I had access to their networks, I started documenting everything. Photos, posts, comments, check-ins. Mark had tagged himself at the same restaurant where Natalie claimed to have eaten with her mother. Natalie had liked every single one of his posts for the past 3 months. But the real goldmine was the private messages I could see between Natalie and her sister Karen. "He's everything Alex isn't," Natalie had written 2 weeks ago. Successful, ambitious, exciting. When I'm with him, I remember what it feels like to be desired. Karen's response: "You deserve to be happy. Life's too short to settle." I know. I just need to figure out how to handle Alex. He's so steady, boring. I don't think he'd even fight for me if he knew. Maybe it's time to find out. I screenshot everything and forwarded it to a secure email account. Then I started planning the next phase. Wednesday evening, I had dinner at Murphy's bar with 3 guys from my crew: Tommy Rodriguez, Mike Chen, and Dave Wilson. We'd been friends since the academy, the kind of friendship forged by shared danger and mutual trust. "You look like hell," Tommy observed, signaling the waitress for another round. "Marriage troubles," I said. "Natalie giving you grief?" "Something like that." Mike leaned forward. "You want to talk about it?" I pulled out my phone and showed them the wedding photo. "Found this on Facebook Sunday morning." The table went quiet. Dave whistled softly. "Holy shit, Alex." "Yeah." "That's Mark Davidson," Tommy said. "Sold my cousin a house last year, total sleazeball." "How long has this been going on?" Mike asked. 4 months, maybe longer." "What are you going to do?" "I'm working on it." Dave shook his head. "Man, I'm sorry. I always liked Natalie." "I did too. Turns out I didn't know her as well as I thought." We drank in silence for a while, the weight of betrayal settling over our table like smoke. Finally, Tommy spoke up. "You need anything, you call us, day or night." "Thanks. I might take you up on that." I drove home to find Natalie curled up on the couch, watching a romantic comedy. She looked up when I walked in, her face carefully neutral. "How was dinner with the guys?" "Fine. We talked about work mostly." "Good. I was thinking maybe this weekend we could do something together. Go to that new restaurant on 5th Street. Maybe see a movie." I studied her face, looking for signs of guilt or calculation. "That sounds nice. What brought this on?" "I just think we should spend more time together. Work on us." "Us." "Yes. I know things have been difficult lately. But I want to try." "What about Mark?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. "What about him? Are you going to keep seeing him while we're working on us?" "Alex?" "It's a simple question, Natalie. Are you planning to stop screwing around with Mark Davidson while you're pretending to fix our marriage?" "I'm not pretending anything." "Then answer the question." She looked away. "It's complicated." "No, it's really not. Either you're committed to our marriage or you're not. Either you're going to stop seeing him or you're not. Pick one." "I need time to think." "How much time?" "I don't know." I nodded slowly. "Okay. Think all you want. But understand something. I'm done being patient. I'm done pretending I don't know what's going on. And I'm done letting you make a fool of me. What does that mean? It means the next move is yours. But whatever you decide, there will be consequences. That night, she slept in the guest room again, and I started making calls. Thursday morning, I put my plan into motion. First, I called Mark's wife. We'd met a few times at neighborhood barbecues. Linda Davidson, a quiet woman who worked as a pediatric nurse and seemed genuinely kind. She deserved to know what her husband was doing with his spare time. Linda, this is Alex Thompson, Natalie's husband. Oh, hi Alex, how are you? I've been better. Listen, I need to tell you something and I'm not sure how to do it gently. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, it's about Mark and Natalie, isn't it? My stomach dropped. You know, I suspected he's been different lately, secretive, happy in a way that has nothing to do with me or the kids. I'm sorry, Linda, I really am. How long have you known? Since Sunday. I saw photos from the wedding. Sarah's wedding. He said he was going alone because I had to work. He wasn't alone. No, I don't suppose he was. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the pain underneath. What are you planning to do? I don't know yet. What about you? I've been thinking about that for weeks. I guess now I have to decide. If you need anything, someone to talk to, help with the kids, call me. We're both dealing with the same thing. Thank you, Alex. That means more than you know. After I hung up, I felt sick. Linda Davidson was a good person caught in the crossfire of her husband's selfishness, but she needed to know the truth, and now she did. Next, I drove to Premier Properties. This time, I went inside. The receptionist, a young woman with perfectly styled hair and a practiced smile, looked up when I entered. Can I help you? I'd like to speak with Mark Davidson. Do you have an appointment? No, but I think he'll want to see me. Tell him Alex Thompson is here. She picked up the phone and spoke quietly. A moment later, Mark emerged from his office, his face carefully neutral. Up close, he was smaller than I'd expected, maybe 5'10" in his expensive shoes. His handshake was firm but slightly damp. Alex, right? What can I do for you? I thought we should talk, man to man. His smile faltered slightly. About what? About my wife. The color drained from his face. I'm not sure what you mean. I think you do. Is there somewhere private we can talk? He glanced around the office, noting the receptionist's obvious interest in our conversation. My office. Mark's office was a shrine to his own success. Awards, photos with local politicians, a shelf full of self-help books about real estate and personal achievement. He closed the door and gestured to a chair across from his desk. Look, Alex, if this is about what I think it's about the fact that you've been sleeping with my wife for 4 months. He sat down heavily. How did you? Facebook photos, hotel receipts, the fact that you've been meeting her at her office after hours. I pulled out my phone and showed him the pictures I'd taken. Monday night, 6:47 p.m., your car, her office, both of you inside after closing. Mark stared at the photos, his face cycling through surprise, fear, and finally resignation. What do you want? I want you to understand something. Natalie might think I'm boring and predictable, but I'm not stupid, and I'm not going away quietly. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you. See, I've spent 12 years learning how fires work. They spread, they consume everything in their path, and they're really hard to put out once they get going. What does that mean? It means your wife knows. It means I have documentation of everything you've done. And it means that if you don't end this immediately, everyone in this town is going to know exactly what kind of man you are. Mark leaned back in his chair. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I scrolled through my phone and showed him the screenshots of Natalie's messages with her sister. Want to bet your reputation on that? He read the messages, his face growing pale. Where did you get these? Does it matter? The point is, I have them, along with photos, credit card receipts, and testimony from multiple witnesses. What witnesses? Your wife, for starters. She's suspected for weeks. The hotel staff who've seen you together. The restaurant servers who remember your cozy dinners. Should I go on? Mark was quiet for a long time, staring at his hands. Finally, he looked up. What do you want me to do? I want you to end it. Today, I want you to tell Natalie it's over, and I want you to stay away from her. And if I do that, then maybe this stays between us. And if I don't, then everyone in town gets to see those wedding photos. Your clients, your colleagues, your neighbors, your kids' teachers, and your wife's friends, and everyone you've ever tried to impress with your perfect life. Mark was sweating now, despite the air conditioning. You're talking about destroying my business. You should have thought about that before you decided to destroy my marriage. It wasn't like that. We never meant for it to happen. But it did happen. Over and over again for months. In hotels, in restaurants, in her office, at family weddings. You made a choice, Mark. Now you get to live with the consequences. I stood up and headed for the door. You have until tomorrow night. After that, I start making phone calls. Alex, wait. I turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're scared. There's a difference. I left him sitting in his office, staring at the photos of his perfect life, and drove home to wait for Natalie. She came through the door at 5:30, earlier than usual, with tears in her eyes and fury written across her face. How could you? She demanded before I could even say hello. How could I what? You went to see Mark. You threatened him. I talked to him. There's a difference. You had no right. I had every right. He's been sleeping with my wife. That's between us. No, Natalie, it stopped being between us the moment you involved him. The moment you lied to me, cheated on me, and made me look like a fool in front of everyone we know. She started crying harder. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did hurt me. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time you came home from being with him and pretended to care about our marriage. I do care about our marriage. No, you don't. You care about having your cake and eating it too. You want the security of being married to me and the excitement of screwing around with him. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I don't know. I'm confused. I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. And Mark makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years. So get a divorce. I don't want a divorce. You want what? I want to feel the way I used to feel, about everything, about you. I sat down across from her, studying her face. Natalie, you can't cheat your way back into loving me. It doesn't work that way. I know, I don't know what to do. I do. You make a choice, him or me, tonight. That's not fair. Fair? You've been lying to me for months. You've been sleeping with another man in our town, at your workplace, in front of our friends and family. And you're worried about fair? I need more time. You've had 4 months. How much more time do you need? I don't know. I stood up. Then I'll make the choice for you. I want you out of the house by Sunday. Alex, no. Please. It's done, Natalie. I'm filing for divorce Monday morning. What about counseling? What about trying to work things out? You should have thought about that before you decided Mark Davidson was more interesting than your marriage. She cried for another hour, alternating between apologies and accusations. I sat in my chair, watching her fall apart, and felt nothing but relief. The fire was finally burning itself out. Friday morning brought chaos. I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Apparently, someone had posted the wedding photos to the Millbrook Community Facebook page overnight, along with a detailed timeline of Natalie and Mark's affair. It wasn't me. I was saving that ammunition for later. My phone rang as I was making coffee, Megan's name on the caller ID. Please tell me you didn't post those photos to Facebook, she said without preamble. I didn't post those photos to Facebook. Then who did? I have a theory, but I can't prove it. What kind of theory? The kind where a pediatric nurse gets tired of being married to a cheating bastard and decides to burn his life down. Linda Davidson? Like I said, I can't prove it. Alex, this is a mess. Half the town is calling Mark's office demanding he be fired. The other half is calling Natalie's dental practice, asking if she's still employed there. And you need to be careful. Angry people do stupid things. She was right. By noon, Mark had left 3 voicemails threatening to sue me for harassment and defamation. Natalie had called 6 times, sobbing about how I'd ruined her life and destroyed her reputation. I was in the garage, changing the oil in my truck, when Tommy Rodriguez showed up. Heard you've been having some excitement, he said, grabbing a beer from the mini fridge I kept for occasions like this. Word travels fast. Facebook travels faster. Jesus, Alex, those photos are brutal. I didn't post them. I know, Linda Davidson did. She's been commenting on every share, telling people exactly what her husband's been up to. Good for her. Mark's been calling the firehouse, trying to get you in trouble with the chief. I looked up from the oil pan. What kind of trouble? Says you threatened him, says you're harassing his family. His family? Apparently, you called his wife. I told his wife the truth. She had a right to know. I agree, but Morrison wants to see you Monday morning. Am I in trouble? Not with us. We've got your back. But you need to be smart about this. I am being smart. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're playing with fire. I know how to handle fire. Tommy finished his beer and stood up. Just remember, sometimes the best way to put out a fire is to let it burn itself out. He left me alone with my thoughts and my truck. Outside, I could hear neighbors talking in hushed voices, probably discussing the scandal that had erupted in their quiet suburb. At 3 p.m., Mark Davidson showed up at my front door. He looked like hell, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, eyes red from lack of sleep. We need to talk. I thought we covered everything yesterday. You're destroying my life. I'm not doing anything. You destroyed your own life when you decided to sleep with my wife. I didn't post those photos. Neither did I. Then who did? Why don't you ask your wife? He slumped against the doorframe. She's not speaking to me. She's filed for divorce. She's taking the kids to her mother's, and she's hired the most vicious lawyer in town. Sounds like she's handling things appropriately. This is all your fault. My fault? Mark, you've been screwing around with my wife for 4 months. You took her to hotels, restaurants, family weddings. You made her think she was in love with you, and you made me look like an idiot. How is any of this my fault? You could have handled it privately. The way you handled your marriage privately? That's different. No, it's not. You made a public spectacle of your affair, and now you're dealing with the public consequences. I could lose everything. You should have thought about that before you decided my wife was worth the risk. Mark straightened up, some of his old arrogance returning. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You're going to go home, pack your things, and figure out how to rebuild your life without my wife in it, and I'm going to do the same thing. What if I don't? Then you'll find out just how creative a man can get when he's got nothing left to lose. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away, his BMW disappearing around the corner like a bad memory. That evening, Natalie came home with suitcases. I'm moving in with my sister for a while, she announced, not meeting my eyes. Probably for the best. I lost my job today. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because it feels like you're getting exactly what you wanted. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with in high school. But something fundamental had changed, some essential trust that could never be repaired. What I wanted was a wife who didn't cheat on me. What I wanted was a marriage worth saving, What I wanted was to not find out about your affair from Facebook photos at a goddamn fire scene. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now we both have to live with it. She finished packing in silence, loading her car with 7 years of shared memories. At the door, she turned back one last time. I did love you, Alex. I want you to know that. I know. I loved you too. Past tense. After she left, I sat in my empty house and felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. The fire was finally out, the damage assessed, the rebuilding ready to begin. My phone buzzed, a text from Linda Davidson. Thank you for telling me the truth. I hope you find happiness. I typed back, you too. You and your kids deserve better. We all do, came her reply. Outside, night was falling over Millbrook, and somewhere in town, Mark Davidson was learning what it felt like to lose everything that mattered. I should have felt sorry for him. I didn't. The confrontation I'd been expecting came 3 weeks later, on a Saturday night when the rest of the town was settling in for the evening. I was grilling burgers in my backyard, enjoying the first peaceful weekend I'd had since the whole mess started, when I heard car doors slamming in my driveway. Multiple car doors. Through the kitchen window, I could see them approaching. Mark Davidson, flanked by 2 men I didn't recognize. Mark looked desperate and dangerous, his usual polish replaced by the wild-eyed intensity of a man with nothing left to lose. I turned off the grill and walked to the front door, my phone already dialing Tommy Rodriguez's number. Tommy, I need you and the crew at my house, now. What's going on? Mark Davidson just showed up with backup. I think things are about to get ugly. On our way. I hung up and opened the front door before Mark could knock. Can I help you, gentlemen? You can help by fixing what you broke, Mark snarled. The 2 men with him looked like they'd been recruited from a gym or a construction site. Big, muscular, and not particularly bright. I didn't break anything, Mark. You did that all by yourself. My business is ruined. My marriage is over. My kids won't talk to me. All because you couldn't handle your wife finding someone better. Your wife posted those photos, not me. Your clients fired you because they don't trust cheaters, not because I forced them to. And your kids are ashamed of you because you chose to betray their mother, not because I made you do it. You started this whole thing. No, you started it when you decided to sleep with my wife. I just made sure everyone knew about it. One of Mark's companions stepped forward. Maybe we should teach you some manners. Maybe you should think about whether you want to assault a firefighter in front of his own house in broad daylight. Who's going to stop us? As if on cue, 3 pickup trucks roared into my driveway, disgorging Tommy, Mike, Dave, and 4 other guys from the firehouse. They spread out across my front yard, forming a semicircle around Mark and his friends. These guys going to stop you, Tommy said calmly, and if that's not enough, I've got the whole department on speed dial. Mark's backup suddenly looked a lot less confident. One of them whispered something in Mark's ear, probably suggesting they reconsider their approach. This isn't over, Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is, I replied. Your affair is over. Your marriage is over. Your business is probably over. And your friendship with my wife is definitely over. The only question now is whether you're going to accept that and move on, or whether you're going to keep making things worse for yourself. She was going to leave you anyway. She told me she was miserable. Maybe she was, but that was between me and her. You didn't have to get involved. She wanted me to get involved. She wanted you to make her feel better about herself. There's a difference. Mark looked around at the assembled firefighters, calculating his odds. Whatever he saw in their faces convinced him that violence wasn't going to solve his problems. Come on, he said to his companions. This is a waste of time. They retreated to their cars, Mark shooting me one last venomous look before driving away. The firefighters stayed until they were sure he wasn't coming back, then gradually dispersed, leaving me alone with Tommy. You think that's the end of it? He asked. I think Mark Davidson is finally starting to understand that actions have consequences. What about Natalie? What about her? You heard from her lately? Divorce papers came through yesterday. She's moving to Pittsburgh, starting over. How do you feel about that? I thought about it for a moment, watching the sun set over my quiet neighborhood. Relieved, mostly, and grateful. Grateful? That I found out who she really was before I wasted any more years on her. Tommy nodded. You going to be okay? I'm going to be better than okay. For the first time in months, I know exactly where I stand. After he left, I went back to my grill and finished cooking my burger. I ate it on my back deck, watching the stars come out and listening to the sounds of a town settling into evening routine. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda Davidson. Mark moved out today. The kids and I are going to be fine. Thank you for everything. I typed back, glad to hear it. You all deserve happiness. So do you, came her reply. I finished my beer and went inside, locking the door behind me. In the kitchen, divorce papers sat on the counter next to a stack of mail and a book I'd been meaning to read. Tomorrow I'd start the next chapter of my life. Tonight I was content to sit in my quiet house and appreciate the absence of drama. The fire was out, the smoke had cleared, the damage was assessed and contained, and for the first time in months, I could breathe freely. 6 months later, I ran into Mark Davidson at the grocery store. He was thinner, grayer, wearing clothes that looked like they came from a discount store rather than his usual expensive boutiques. He saw me coming and tried to duck down another aisle, but I caught up with him near the frozen foods. Mark. Alex. He wouldn't meet my eyes. How are you doing? Getting by. You? Can't complain. We stood there for a moment, two men whose lives had been permanently altered by his decision to pursue my wife. For what it's worth, he said finally, I am sorry about all of it. I know. Do you ever wonder how things might have been different? No, I said honestly. I don't see any point in it. He nodded and pushed his cart away, disappearing into the maze of aisles like a ghost from a life I no longer recognized. I finished my shopping and drove home to the house that was finally completely mine. On the kitchen counter, wedding photos from my firehouse buddy's ceremony reminded me that some marriages